Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you guys are. Welcome back to Doom Eternal. We've been taking on some master levels. So now that we've finished the cultist base, it's time for the art complex. This is a great map, it's a lot of fun.
Is just across the complex. This industrial campus was once the headquarters of the resistance.
For the faithful.
This one starts off strong and really doesn't let up. I would say this is slightly more difficult than cultist base, but not by a huge margin. But it is kind of the entryway into Doom Eternal's most difficult content, which at this point I would say is the Ancient Gods. All three missions are pretty difficult. The first of those missions, the UAC Atlantica, that is probably a step up from this map. And the subsequent two missions are pretty tough. And probably the icing on the cake as far as Doom Eternal's difficulty is the Super Gore Nest master level, which was released subsequent to the Ancient Gods, if I'm not mistaken. And thus, it is really tough. Where Cultist Base really just throws a lot of enemies at you, for the most part, the combinations aren't incredibly interesting. They're okay. Nothing wrong with them, but the art complex, I think, is a little more nuanced in terms of its enemy placements and combinations. And clearly the team has learned as they've gone. Hello, floating Hell Knight, what you doing up there? The team's definitely learned as they've gone. Made better and better levels with more interesting combinations of enemies. So we use that BFG blast just to go back and grab this ammo, really. There's no other reason. If you find you're struggling in a later section, of course you could hold off on using that BFG blast and come back and grab that later. As long as you don't get so far afield that you can't return to the area. And I forget what cutoffs there may be, if there's any artificial barriers, doors that close or anything behind you. I'm not actually 100% sure on that. So it might be better saved for the big fight out in the sort of plaza area with all the purple goop. That would potentially be a good place to use it. And then come back and restock your ammo, if that's possible. We have a pair of barons in here. We start with one and get another. So if you are on your Doom Eternal career heading toward more difficult content, toward, playing on higher difficulty levels, trying to move generally toward some mastery over the game, these are great sort of entryways to that. These master levels, especially the first two. If you didn't pre-order the game, you don't necessarily have access to Cultist Base, which is unfortunate. I don't know if there's any hacked together version of that or not floating around in the wild, but specifically what I think is great about these levels is that they give you a chance to practice specifically fighting certain enemies. One brief note here, I had a full flame belch. I should have used it right there. I could have upped. I have 0 armor. It's a total rookie move. I should have flame belched that whole group, popped off that grenade, and gotten a boatload of armor. So I'm, a little underpowered by comparison to what I should be in this hallway. It's little mistakes like that that can sometimes be costly. Doing just a little better in my decision making. I didn't have any massive problems on this level, but certainly there are times down the road when a decision like that might have cost me quite a bit. But yeah, as I was saying, practice your combos and your takedowns of individual enemies. Not to say that they're not going to, spawn in interesting combinations, because of course they will, and you'll always have to think on your feet. But it's great to get into the muscle memory a little bit. The actions you'll commonly take to remove a certain enemy. If you kind of internalize some of that stuff, it'll help a lot.
The Ark is no more. Please evacuate immediately.
Many enemies will be very susceptible to your Super Shotgun Ballista sort of 1-2 combo. And it's also worth practicing some longer range combos, such as with Precision Bolt and the Ballista, or Ballista and Rocket Launcher. Those are helpful as well, but these levels give you a good chance to practice some of those skills and hopefully get built into your muscle memory a bit, ways of dealing with certain enemies, so that you have a fair idea of how to go. For me, Tyrants, pretty much Ballista Super Shotgun, unless I need to retreat, then usually switching to Ballista and Rocket Launcher. So these first two levels, the Cultist Base and Ark Complex, the Master level versions in particular, I think are great training grounds for that sort of thing. Because they are tough, and they do up the ante. They're built for that end game play where you've got all your stuff. And once you've got all that stuff, it's time to start doing content that challenges you at that level, because that's where you start in the Ancient Gods. So obviously the stuff that they're releasing going forward is with the expectation of you having, a fully upgraded character, essentially. You obviously don't need to actually do any upgrading to play the Ancient Gods, because it's standalone. Starting a new Ancient Gods campaign will just start you off with everything that you need. But those are the tools that you're going to have available to you, plus, whatever additional stuff they may give you. I think there may be a new weapon. I want to say there's a new weapon that's coming in Ancient Gods Part 2. So, there may be some new things to learn, but essentially your baseline is Eternal's fully upgraded Doomslayer. So yeah, these maps are great for that. Great for getting some practice, just steamrolling dudes with a fully upgraded Slayer. So that's perfect for gearing up for Ancient Gods, since you don't have to worry about new level layouts. You don't have to learn about learning new environmental hazards, anything like that. You've just got your full tool set, all your gear, and you can go into it and just make the best use of that stuff possible. Now, for some reason, that two of my blood punches there did not connect. That seemed like they should have. I don't know why. I did 3 punches. The first one may have been slightly too far out. The second one hit, and then the third one did not take. Not entirely sure what's going on there, but I believe that is still being patched. I think I mentioned that in an earlier episode, that it's a known issue. It's not, earth-shatteringly bad. It's pretty rare. I don't find like it happens all the time, but, it is something to be aware of. But occasionally your blood punch will fail you. Hopefully that'll be resolved by the time Changing Thoughts 2 is released, because I know they're still working on some patches, and they've talked about some balance stuff as well. Which is great. I'm really glad they're still working on the game. It's always nice to see a developer really support a product, even though Eternal's been out for what? Nearly a year? Over a year? I can't actually remember what the release date was now that I'm thinking about it. But it's been out for a while, so it's nice to see that it's still getting a lot of love. Alright, so we'll try again with the blood punches here. Because that is, of course, the fastest way to get rid of one of these guys. So that's how it should have gone. A couple of punches, a couple of rockets, and he's done. Get some armor stack back with these guys. And there's our Slayer Gate, which doesn't do us any good here, because those don't essentially exist inside of a master level. I think I just had to kill these guys to get the next bit to go and did not realize it. There it is. So right here, Dread Knight gets a pretty good couple of clips on me. Takes my stack down quite a bit. And they're one of the enemies that's very good to getting used to killing quickly. Especially on higher difficulty levels, they can do a lot of damage very fast. They don't have a lot of health. You know, a quick weapon combo can usually dispatch them pretty easily. But they do a lot of damage if they actually catch you, so it's the kind of thing you do want to practice. Get good at eliminating them quickly. And that'll help you a lot.
This is Dr. Elena.
In our secret here, we've got a Mega Health.
Subject analysis layer, January 24th, 2063. There is no chance that
It occurs to me that I don't actually know if there's an extra life anywhere. Like, I don't know if I missed anything prior to that spot where I died. If I had found an extra life, then I believe that's the only time I actually die in this level, so that would have been okay, but that's alright. It is, after all, pretty average nightmare. Too much high-level play would be off-brand, I think. This is a tricky little spot just because you're kind of sandwiched. As long as you stay moving, it's not too bad. Pain elementals are the priority. And you can use that little secret area like I did to kind of get around the back if you need to. So I've kind of taken out a few cacodemons here without using a grenade.
This is Dr. Elena Richardson, log entry.
That's another good thing to know, that they will survive a couple of hits, but a quick weapon combo will take them out. You don't have to use a grenade.
Maybe he represents his rage, their will to persevere to overcome that rage.
There's plenty of times, honestly, when you may not want to use a sticky bomb or grenade to get rid of a cacodemon. So as you can see, Dread Knights are a common tool that the devs use, especially in somewhat narrow instances like that, often, where they just kind of hone right in on you. So it's good to practice taking them out quickly. We have the luxury of time there to just snipe some weak points. Have a big tyrant here. A pretty common sight in these master levels. Obviously a good weapon combo can take them out fairly quickly, and they're highly susceptible to ice bombs. We've got a pair of whiplashes here, which are always problematic in these more open spaces, since they can use that ground furrow against you quite easily. And hey, how about another? Since my stack is low, I'm trying to be prudent and use my shield, although I'm not using it very effectively. It's good enough to take them out, so that's all that matters. But these prowlers, man, just keep slapping me. It's a number of close calls here. But that's one of the nice things about Doom Eternal's combat loop, is you can always get your resources back. You're never out of luck just because you make a bad move or two. A lot of these levels, and I want to say several instances in the Ancient Gods as well, they like to spawn Hell Knights in pairs, where they tend to be singular enemies that appear with others in the base campaign. More often now they come in pairs as a sort of tag team duo against you, in addition to the mobs that will accompany them. Sometimes with Dread Knight in addition. Snap back up here. Just out of ammo and not realizing that they're like a sucker. Whoops. I personally find the meat hook to be one of the best weapons against prowlers. Certainly lock-on blast with the rocket launcher is a great tactic against them as well, when they're being fast-moving, hard to hit. But I really like using the meat hook because I tend to have to track them down first a little bit anyway. So once I've got them in my sights and have an idea of where they are, it's easy to just zip in there and get a big blast. Honestly, I have no idea why I decided to use the Crucible there. Because as usual, I basically just forget it exists. And it probably would have made more sense to use it on this Mancubus here, but... bust out that shield, since I kind of got myself cornered. I think that is the best use, far and away the best use of the chain gun in the game. It's great for those oh shit moments.
You believe the Doomslayer will see?
Not off to a great start, 5 health. So this is one of those times when an ice bomb makes all the difference. So it went from 5 health to 149 in just a few seconds. And now I've got some armor as well. Number of prowlers spawn in here. There's that cyber mancubus. That's the way I like to do it with those cyber mancubi. Just this berserk is so useless. Here, I pretty much already killed everything. For some reason, I thought there was more. And then it runs out just in time for me to not use it on this Dread Knight. Excellent. Just chef's kiss timing. But yes, I very much enjoyed the meat hook and ballista shotgun combo with the cyber mancubus. So you can kind of just use whatever you like to defeat that little group as they cluster up there. Anything burst circumstance like that that does some burst, not burst damage, but some area of effect damage. So rockets, grenades, your heat blast from the plasma cannon, anything like that works well. But of course, I didn't even bother to do any of that. Super shotgun works really well in those circumstances too. We'll shoot a couple of tentacles and be on our way. Kablamo. I think I was taking a drink of coffee while we watch this.
First target destroyed. The second turret will give you the angle needed.
Can't play a game without some coffee. Now take our long, slow elevator ride back down. It's one of the few moments of respite in this master level, which is pretty fast and furious the whole way through for the most part. Lots of prowler action in this map.
Our trans-dimensional friends shall not walk on tainted ground. Earth must be cleansed.
We've got an empowered Hell Knight here. One of those things that hopefully you've been practicing your combos with. Didn't have a lot of ammo there, so that wasn't great, but Ice Bomb gets us out of danger quickly. Takes care of him. And those are the circumstances you really want to have that muscle memory in there to just like, okay, let me do this quick combo and just eliminate this guy. So these maps are really good for these kind of practice scenarios in a reasonably low pressure environment. Because they're just one-off levels, they're not part of the campaign. There's no pressure to do super well, you can always just start them over anytime you want. Which I guess goes for mission select and the base campaign as well, but There are also, you know, familiar levels, things whose layouts you've already seen, you already kind of have an idea of how to get through them. So there's no, or at least not nearly as much, you know, where's the secret, where's everything located. And that makes them really perfect little practice arenas. And I was wrong, I lost another life. So sad, that was kind of a pointless one. I think I was a little overeager about wanting to use my plasma cannon, because when you have haste, that plasma cannon fires so rapidly. It's a great weapon. Now this is a precarious situation here for this glory kill. Anytime you get into a glory kill like that, it's good to, especially if it's a somewhat longer animation, you have, you know, a second to kind of assess things. Watch the corners of your screen. Try and see, like, okay, where's the way out? Where do I go? And then dodge immediately afterward. Not exactly on point with my grenade throwing there. Finally got him, but now I'm down here. That's one thing I have commonly seen people get in trouble with, is their glory kills. A little slow on my mod switching there, switching to detonate. Remote detonate would have been nice had I got it all around, but as we mentioned before, glory kills are not as dangerous in Eternal as they are in 2016. Doom 2016, it's very easy to get murdered outright as a result of a bad glory kill. This was not the smartest of moves, actually. Didn't quite do that the way I wanted, so now I'm stuck in this slime. And it's okay. Thankfully, the Mancubus did not pursue. Had he moved forward, I would have been in trouble. I don't know if he's programmed to stay there, or if he's just too fat to fit through that hole in the fence, maybe. Yeah, I guess that's the case. He's just too big to get in there. So, ultimately that worked out okay, but fencing is just in everyone's way here. Yeah, so it should be smooth sailing for us for the remainder of the level. All your secrets, of course, are in the same places that you remember them. Though their contents are sometimes different. We can go downstairs to grab the secret encounter, except there is no secret encounter. So I guess that's one difference between these master levels and the Ancient Gods campaign levels, is that they do have some of those the secret challenges and that sort of stuff hidden away in there. Whereas with your master levels, it's kind of no frills. A little bit more streamlined, I guess. So we can still go down here and collect some goodies. So So that's great. Stock up on some armor and health. Get another gas can, but the secret encounter is nowhere to be found, so that's just a stop for some resources, and if you don't need them, then it doesn't matter. So if you're one of those people that hasn't bought the Ancient Gods Part 1 yet, you're curious, but you've been holding off, these are a fair indicator, I guess, of the difficulty of the first map.
One moment. Override successful.
You'll probably have an easier time with the first two master levels, the cultist base and the art complex, compared to most of the content in the Ancient Gods Part 1. Whereas the Super Gore Nest master level, which you can also get for free, I think it probably just came in an update. I don't think you even have to manually download it or anything. That is a better indication of the difficulty of the second two maps in the Ancient Gods. So if you've been on the fence, you can use those as a kind of a guidepost for how tough things are going to be. So we've got a Marauder here, plus a host of guys. I don't know what happened there. Same thing happened to me in the cultist base recording, where I just somehow, fighting a Marauder, just like hit the wrong button or something. Got butterfingers. You've probably noticed before, but if you haven't, I should mention that you can hear when the dog has spawned. It's not a purely visual thing. You can hear it howl when he drops it. So that's worth listening out for. Audio cues in this game are not as important as they might be in some games. But they're still can be informative. So this is a fairly straightforward fight, but depending on your skill at quickly dispatching a Marauder, it may be more or less difficult, because there are a lot of additional enemies here. And that's a thing you kind of need to get used to. Marauders are a regular staple as far as level design in Doom Eternal.
Warning. All ARC personnel. The mortally challenged.
This is just a bit of fun. They give you a lot of damage right off the bat. That is not the thing to do. Don't go into a glory kill animation and like waste half the time of your quad. At least I'm pretty sure that's how that works. I don't think you get me. I don't think it stops the timer when you do a glory kill. So I just wanted to go back and stock up. Not the most entertaining of moves, but since I left this mega health here, may as well go back and get it, right? It's 136 armor that I got there, so that was worth the slight detour. Never be afraid to go back and pick up stuff that you've left behind if you can. Unless you're streaming the game, like, who cares?
This is Dr. Elena Richardson. Log
And so that's pretty much it. We more or less hit the end of the level here. And I confess I was somewhat surprised. It's just the same. It's the usual ending. Just the Marauder dude. with the couple of enemies. I was really expecting at least some additional mobs in here, but again, somehow missing my weapon switching. I have not figured out why that's a thing. And there, I think I swapped and maybe didn't have ammo. So that doesn't help. So, not exactly the most graceful finish, but we did it, and that's what counts. So thanks, guys. Thank you for joining me once again for another master level. And I'm really excited, because after this, we are moving into the Ancient Gods. So join us next time for UAC Atlantica. I'll see you then.